This broadcast is going out to all the survivors of the Wasteland. When you attend the Great Gathering at Wasteland City, it might be hard to keep your bearings greased and know where to go. If you're trying to find peace in the Green Place, enlightenment in the Fringe, stay away from Undertown, or make a dirty deal in the slums, all while finding your way home to the Sandy Gardens or Plains of Silence, it's good to have a map to guide your way. After all, not every camp can be found just by its smell. Looking at you, Road Rash. Our team of old world tech scourers has found a way to hack into the lost signals of derelict satellites high in the atmosphere, left behind by those who came before, and retrieve images during the last great gathering of Wasteland City, and all of the lost souls in Tent City as well. With these images in our possession, we've parsed every bit of knowledge remembered onto parchment, and painstakingly made copies for anyone who'd want of one. With every attending tribe plotted out, this map will help you remember your way in Wasteland City, even during the year-long Great Waiting. With maps, we have knowledge. With knowledge, we survive. Support the Wasteland Weekend 2024 Bird's Eye Map Project on Kickstarter to reserve your copy today. Link in the show notes. As always, thanks for supporting the Apocalypse Post. So the Wasteland low, are you feeling it?
Oh my God, am I? This year more than any other year, I think.
I've heard that from a few people.
It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a rough come down this year, I think.
I don't know why. There's a lot going on in the world, and of course, Wasteland provides its own bit of escape. And the people are just a beautiful, wonderful place to be. And then we have to come back to the world where there's like bad news every day, and
and just life.
And just life. Yeah, just life. Just paying bills and stuff.
Yeah, God, It sucks. But I also feel like, I don't know, this year has been more socializing, more decomp, decompression.
I normally don't get to do decomp season.
Oh,
because I'm usually in Nashville or Albuquerque or wherever the hell else. But it seems like LA is a great place to be this time of year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a little bit biased, but yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. Well, it's just, this is where most of the Wasteland tribes are. And since COVID...
a lot of them for sure. I don't know the statistics on it. I know that for sure we have a lot elsewhere as well. Yeah. But... Yeah, there's a lot.
This is like ground zero, to use a Wasteland term.
Yeah.
Where I think a lot of them are. And, Hollywood, well, LA in general, just has a lot of Wastelanders, and there's been a lot of activities. Like we get to go to the Halloween party a couple weeks back, which was very Wasteland adjacent.
Oh, God, that was amazing. And I'm not saying that because I was just part of co-hosting it. No, but there have been some really fun... decomps this year, and like sorely needed. And seriously,
we just got to go to one in North Hollywood, ran by the Buzzards.
Oh yeah, they do a great job of doing this like very regularly throughout the whole year,
which is great.
But this one was definitely the biggest one I have ever seen. Mm-hmm. But I think it might have been one of the biggest turnouts as well, just in general. Mm-hmm. Amazing humans, and just getting to hang out, have a couple of beers together, and just it's escapism, but in like the best way.
Right. Yeah, because it reminds, well, not so much but it's another touch. It's another touch on our chosen family.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And the first decomp that I went to was hosted by Big Disco and Toolbox and a park, and it was absolutely delightful. And so many people showed up, super fun, and not just people that I knew from previous years, but also people who were new to me, which is part of why I love Wasteland, I'll be honest, is also just getting to meet more new people that are of the same, God, I don't know, like weird nerdism, I guess.
Weird, spicy nerdism.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of spicy.
Yeah. So, that's an early cue. You're in trouble in just a minute. We're going to introduce you so soon. But you were like ants in your pants.
Trying for it to not go like away to the screensaver.
I got you.
Okay, so I guess it's time.
I guess it's time. All right.
So one of the new people in my friend circle is this really badass human, old-timey Wastelander.
Oh.
I don't know. Can you say that?
I guess
and
you
costume maker.
Oh.
No, puppet maker. All of the creativeness, and also the host of this absolutely fantastic Halloween party that we had a couple of weeks ago. And we're actually currently sitting in a room that is wall-to-wall puppets.
All things weird and puppety and creative.
And remind me your Wasteland name.
Oh my goodness. Well, I kind of cheated. It's my Neo name, but I also used it for Wasteland. So I go by Captain Bingos.
Love it.
And then it became Cha-Cha, and then Cha-Cha Bingo. So it's whatever floats your boat, I guess.
It's in its own
Whatever feels
evolution.
right.
All right, guys. Well, I'm MakeShift. That's Shepard over there, in case you didn't recognize that Swedish brogue. And we have Captain Bingos
Yes.
with us as well.
That is correct.
We will be right back after the intro music, and we're going to talk all about Wasteland, the way it was a long time ago versus now. And I'm going to explain all of that in just a minute. See you in a sec. What happened? We did this ourselves. They're coming. It can't be.
Where is everyone?
All right, Shepard, welcome back to the show. We're in this really cool space. Can you describe it a little bit?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Well,
tell us what you see, and then we'll have Kristin kind of explain what the hell is going on here.
well, I see a couple of little Swedish gnomes, a little floofball moon face, a Yoda, but like clearly not store-bought. Very many beautiful, like beaked and spooky troll-like puppets of all shapes and sizes, color, a lot of fur. The vibe is very much, I don't know, my vibe, which I guess explains
I love that.
a little bit of the connection.
The long and short, it feels like we're in like a Jim Henson Dark Crystal studio. There's an entire like workbench over there. This is also your living space.
Yes.
It's just really cool and vibey. Dark red walls. What the hell's going on here? Boudoir?
Oh my
I like
goodness.
that. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, well, and I'm incredibly lucky to have landed where I am. We call this place the Compound, and it's a large property. I'm actually in a bungalow in the back house. And there's the main house, which I share with 5 other roommates, and it's a wonderful space for hosting events, which is the one we just had for Halloween. It was amazing. It's a great place to build community and just, spread my artistic wings a little bit. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
So you're a professional puppeteer. No, puppet maker.
Puppet maker. I also have puppeteered.
Okay.
I am also a costume designer. I've done set dressing, just a little bit of everything really in the industry. So yeah.
I love it. It's such a wonderful creative space. Every time I'm in here, I just want to like make things.
Oh, that's so lovely to hear.
Yeah.
That's the goal. I want people to come into my space and just be like in this wonderland of creativity and magic. As silly as that sounds, it's just like, this is what makes me happy. That's why I surround myself with all of this. It's great.
Mm-hmm. And pre-Wasteland, when I was down here getting my car fixed, which I've told the story on the show, we hung out here and did a crafting night.
Yes.
And that was super fun because I got to live that very young dream of working on something in this place. I didn't bring nearly enough, but you were providing, I called it a boo-boo fixer. which you called something else.
A boo-boo fixer? Oh,
yeah,
a steam
it's a
ripper.
A steam ripper. Yeah. But yeah, back in third grade, I went to an after-school daycare and took a sewing class as part of that, and they called it a boo-boo fixer, and that's just what it is to me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm going to start calling it that.
But yeah, it's a very necessary tool for wastelanding things because it literally helps you pull stitches apart so that you can, make your clothes look like they're falling apart.
Exactly. Which is what we all want.
Yes. Oh my goodness. To go back and recall what I learned in college during my costume design program of this is how you properly distress costumes and make them look aged and weathered. All of that came back into play for when I was prepping for Wasteland, especially this year. So it's
all right. And
awesome.
I want to go back a little bit because the reason we wanted to talk to you today.
Yeah.
This was your first Wasteland back after a long time.
Yes.
When was the last Wasteland you went to?
The last Wasteland I was at in 2013.
So more than a decade ago.
More than a decade.
Holy crap.
I know.
And it was so different back then.
Yes.
But you went to what? You said 2012 and 2013, and that was it?
Yes.
All right, so 2012 was the third year. My second year, it was still super fresh. And 2013 wasn't that much different.
No. And from what I understand, so I went with my former partner, who's a lovely, huge Mad Max fan, and I had no idea. I didn't grow up watching the movies. I know everybody's going to kill me, but
I have no idea what I'm getting myself for.
I vaguely was familiar with the movies. I had heard of them, but I didn't grow up watching them. And so he was like, "Hey, I love Mad Max. I went to this festival with my friends." I think he went the first year.
Oh,
even.
in 2010?
I think so, or first or second year. And he was
Okay.
like, "This was incredible. Let's go together."
Nice.
So we had just started dating, I think, at that point. And I was like, "All right, I'll road trip out with you from Colorado with a bunch of mutual friends, and let's see how this goes." And
From Colorado?
From Colorado,
Oh, crap.
yeah. So that's part of the hiatus. That's why it took me so long to finally get back to it, because I'd been in Colorado for most of my adult life. And so we all drove out together, road tripped and caravanned out, and he's a Bartertown guard. So he had the big horsehair mohawk and everything.
He was one of the elite guard at the main gates.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were dating a celebrity.
100%. And
that was our first cosplayers.
Yes.
Those were our only cosplayers, official event cosplayers were doing the elite guard at the front gates.
Yeah, and so he explained to me, he's like, "Well, I have to do these 2-hour shifts and
shifts.
or whatever they were at the time.
That's probably right.
We're gonna switch out and just so we don't die in the sun, we have to stay hydrated." And it was wonderful. We were part of the Red Fork Empire at the time, and
I remember them.
Yeah.
I don't know, not personally, but I remember the tribe name.
Yes, yeah, we're in the main encampment or themed camp area. And
For those of us who weren't there, what were their thing?
Oh, good.
Oh
good
my
question.
goodness. Well, I see, and this is where it was kind of fast and loose at the time, from what I remember. And I know we had one themed car in our group, and it was this, I can't even describe, I'm so horrible with cars, but they're souped up monster truck style.
Yeah, all our Mad Max cars.
With the big wheels, and everybody would hop on the back, because it would be this crazy open area in the back where we could drive around with 10 to 15 people right at the time. And then we'd all drive out to the desert and just follow all the other cars and I don't think there was really a whole lot of rules back then for how you could parade around. So it felt like we were in the movies. It felt like real Mad Max going on out there at the time. It was crazy.
You're not wrong.
But
those early car cruises, there was no speed limit. So people went ham.
They went ham. But in terms of our shtick or what we were there to represent, it was, I'm going to not be the best at explaining what the Red Fork Empire is, so maybe that's something we can get into later when we'll find the actual write up for it, because
the old MySpace posts about it.
I would love to chat with Justinian, who was the emperor of the Red Fork Empire, but his whole thing was to promote creativity, and that he would be this kind of this emperor across many realms was sort of the thing that he would do. So he was visiting the wasteland, and it was like he was gracing us with his presence. That was kind of his thing.
Yeah.
And we were sharing a space with Jack Dagger. I remember that.
Jack, he made a lot of appearances back then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was him and Dave Baker. They always had a shared camp. And Jack Dagger, of course, has continued his tour around the world throwing knives at people.
Yes.
He's a professional, like circus style knife thrower. And Dave Baker went on to do Forged in Fire.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, he's been doing that show
cool.
for the last, I don't know, 8 years or something.
That's incredible. I think, well, one of the members of the Red Fork Empire at the time also was on that show. It was the one with the vehicle.
Oh, no
Ted.
kidding.
Yeah. So it's been a long time since I've seen all those guys, but
It is really fun. And this is a quick aside, but Wastelanders have a lot of secrets. And so many Wastelanders are in the industry and kind of these secret bigwigs behind the scenes in a lot of cases. And it's really fun to kind of figure out people's credits along the way.
yeah.
Like yours.
Wild. I know. I know it's a secret, and then when people find out, they're like, "What?
Yeah.
What did you do?"
Yeah, because you had a big break with the Jim Henson Company, right?
I did, yes. And so this is wild. So in 2013, I was one of the judges for the costume contest.
Oh, right.
At Wasteland. And for Jared to come out on stage and announce here, and he was introducing all of us on the panel. And then when he got to me, he was like, creature designer or puppet person. He kind of went on about all the stuff that I do. This was before I had won the Jim Henson official Dark Crystal fan film competition. Mm-hmm. And that took me on this whole journey. Then I was suddenly on their radar, and they hired me. So that would have been in 2016 when they announced the contest, and I won. And then in 2017, they hired me to work on the show, the Netflix series.
That is so great.
Yeah.
So
So
fun.
I was very, very lucky to be
That
part
is
of all
really
that.
amazing.
When I found that out about you, I geeked out so hard. Oh my gosh.
It's wild. Yeah. And I had, I believe Maxine Machina, shout out to her. I ran into a Wastelander this year, and somebody that I'd met in Denver ran into her at Wasteland, and she was so excited. She actually sent me a handwritten letter in the mail.
Oh my gosh.
And a couple of hand-drawn, pieces of leather, hand-painted pieces of leather of, Skeksis fan art for me. So I'm going to, add them to my my
Cool.
costume for next year for sure. Yeah.
Sweet. Hell yeah.
Yeah, so it's very, that. I love that about the Wasteland community.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And that's one of the benefits of being so close to LA is we do draw a lot of Hollywood professionals because it's just another way of expressing our creativity and our art.
Yeah.
Super fun.
100%.
All right, so I don't remember a whole lot from 2013.
Okay.
To fess up a little bit. 2012. It's been a long time, and for me, I haven't missed a year. Since 2011. I missed 2010, and I saw the pictures, and I was like, never missing another one.
Do they all kind of blend together?
They start to blend. That's what I was saying.
Right.
It's been an
a
evolution
mashup.
in a lot of ways. Like we were talking before we started the show, there's been eras, right? There's the post-COVID era. There was the new location era, which was started in 2017. So I consider 2017 to 2019 to be its own thing. And then we took a year off, and we've had post-COVID since then, which not a lot has changed in the last 4 years or so. And then H Park, which was its original location, was its own thing. But even that had its own eras because there were the beginning years and then the middle years. So yeah, it's a whole Tolkien history thing of different eras going on. But here's what I'd like to do. You may have accidentally pre-queued a certain video. What we did was we pre-queued the 2013 or 2012.
I think it was the 2012.
Yeah, so we're going to watch the 2012 and then the 2013 highlight reel back to back right now to refresh our memories.
Yes.
And get a good look at the event. These are videos that I produced back then.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The shock and awe.
But I haven't seen them since I did the COVID show in 2020, where I did all the highlight reels back to back. But here's what we're going to do. For those of you that are listening on YouTube, these are actually going to play for you. For those of you not, you'll just get to listen in, and we'll do some, I'm sure, one-word commentary while we watch. But let's bring it up and refresh our memories.
Sounds great.
All right, so here comes 2012. All right, hit
Probably
it.
going to be a commercial. Oh, no.
And of course, we get an attack song. This might be the last time I use an attack song. I can't remember.
Oh, there's Ryan and Rain.
Oh, that's him? Yeah. That's awesome. Right in the beginning.
Oh, it looks the same, but so different.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we got the small gates. I was really proud that there was like an actual crowd to show.
Wow.
Oh, we got this was one of the years we did interviews for the highlight reel. It looks...
There's Ryan.
Oh, no way.
Toady. Yeah.
Ah,
I think they just showed our camp.
that's hilarious.
Wow.
But just looking at this, it looks so Bartertown, like Beyond Thunderdome.
There's Ted. Yep,
right?
there was the car.
Oh, that's Duke's camp right there.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so much more like sparse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, the city used to be wide open. Oh yeah, APOC Nation was our first unofficial ward. The old Thunderdome before
There we were.
Death Guild took
That
over.
was us on the car.
Really? Oh,
Yep.
we're gonna have to go back and pause that.
Yes.
This is great. That's WCC. The Wasteland Library. I think that might have been their first year. We got battle bots. That's Hatter.
Wow.
Hatter is, I mean, he's just legacy at this point, but he did an incredible story time that year, like a tea party and story time.
Yep. I remember
We've got
this.
Tank. This was a big deal, like putting on some of these skits early on. Because we weren't really like LARPing then. It was more like presentations.
It was presentation, yeah, because that's Jim the Tank
Dorsey.
Yeah, I remember. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, he hasn't been in a few years. Because he has a new family back on the East Coast, I believe. Oh, the archery
Oh,
range.
they had archery back then still?
Yeah.
Like, already?
Yeah, it was run by the mutant hunters back then. And we had a ditch so that the arrows couldn't go too far. We got a jugger match going on. Oh, it's so wild how many familiar faces there are. in
Yeah,
Wow.
and I only get to see them for like half a second,
I
so I'm just
know.
like, wait, was that
Yeah.
I think that was a person I know.
this. It moves so fast. But yeah, I mean, this is 10 years ago. That was Lucky.
Oh, there's Lucky.
Yeah,
You know Lucky.
There's Spud and
oh my
Adam.
goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, Lucky McQueen. He hurt himself doing a stunt at Wasteland, if I remember right. Oh, the Atomic Cafe. I think it was new that year. It was new either. Yeah, it was absolutely new in 2012. Oh. There's just so many things happening here. Oh, there's Jack Dagger.
Jack.
Oh, Aesthetic Meat Front. Holy crap. When are they
I
coming back?
remember them from
Oh.
later years.
Yeah. Yeah, for a while they were coming like every other year. That was a real time
man,
thing
what a
right
wild
there. He's just
ride.
screaming his head off and then someone just goes, next.
Wow.
Yeah, that was fun. Oh my gosh. All right.
What
2012.
a blast from the past.
So that was your first year.
Yes.
Wow.
Isn't it wild to see the
So,
difference?
Baby bingos.
Baby bingos.
Back in 2012.
Baby bingos. I know. We were like, why is it bingos? It's like because it's a derivative of like Oingo Boingo. And
Oh,
then
okay.
And then also another nickname I was given like back when I was working at Tower Records. It's
I remember
course.
what you
Yes.
told me at Wasteland when you told somebody else.
Oh, a
Yeah.
very different story.
oh, it's just,
It was like, well, bingo, but there's two
There's two of them.
pointing to
yes,
the
the general area of
boobage.
Hey, this is a family show. Excuse me.
Boobage is fine.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah.
If it works on South Park, it works on this show.
Well, and the thing is, it's like we're here to have fun.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
taking myself too
Oh,
seriously
exactly.
here, and I figured if it's fun and funny and it puts a smile on someone's face,
Yeah.
Captain
yeah.
Bingos.
That
And
view has 36. That video has 36,000 views from 11 years ago. Kind of crazy.
wild.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right, so now we're going to
Yeah, we're gonna skip ahead 1 year.
1 year
into the future.
and then I'm going to.
And then we're gonna watch everyone in between so that you can catch up.
We will be here for approximately 10 hours.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everybody else that would be listening to this is as starved for Wasteland as we are.
Oh, I know, yeah.
And like we're a month and a half. Oh, wait, shit. Is it already
that postpartum.
2 months?
Oh, it's just a month and change.
A month and a bit, right?
Yeah, because
I don't
it
know. What
ended
is
in
time?
October,
I'm
and
not
now it's
sure I
November
believe in
4th
time as
when
a
we're
concept
recording.
anymore. Anyways.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the week of Halloween felt like it either came and gone so quickly or it was an eternity. You know?
Yeah.
It's
Pretty much.
just depends how you look at it. But,
Right.
All right, well, let's look at 2013.
Oh, man. All right, we have the new stage in this one. Wait, did we have the stage in that other one? Oh, Chops! We were just hanging out with him.
Wow.
Jared with hair. No offense, Jared.
This is how we know the different eras.
There's Lucky again.
I mean, it's looking bigger.
Yeah, but still a lot of
Already.
the same vibe, though, right? Like it's a lot of Beyond Thunderdome, a lot of like black, just a lot of black. I feel like Wasteland went brown since, right?
A lot more goth. A lot more
Yeah,
goth influence.
yeah, a
It
lot more like
started more
leathers
leather.
and right. I mean,
Which
that
I guess
was also
that was a lot of Mad Max.
that's Mad
right?
Max. That's both.
Oh, I have a funny story about these. About the bounty.
Oh, that was the first year of the bounty,
Yes.
2013. Oh, let's hear that story afterwards. I'm marking that down. Happy face sniper guy. Bam Bam. So many familiar faces. Lucky gets a lot of screen time just because he's always looking so cool. The post office. I think that was the first year of the WCC post office.
Wow.
Post office.
Jugger. Jack Dagger and Jared doing Jugger as if it was a sports event. I think that was the first year they did like announcements.
Are they still doing those little?
Yeah.
Oh, there's Jesse. That's my buddy Jesse.
Oh, Jesse, I believe they called him the Lady Boner.
Oh. Sure.
Yeah.
Now, Jesse and Laura, they're lovely.
There's Dave Baker, prior to going on
I remember Dave
Forge and
Baker,
Fire.
too.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Was I
Attack
mistaken,
Show.
or did I just see Grim?
Yeah, that was Grim. Yeah. He was doing, we kind of did our own, like, Ceremony of the Fallen before there was real Fallen. We stopped doing that after there was real Fallen. I mean, we do it for the real Fallen now, but yeah, for our tribe members that did not make it any particular year, we kind of had a ceremony for them. And I believe we just saw the first gladiator bouts in the Thunderdome before they had their own camp for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, our first Wasteland wedding on stage.
That's incredible.
Wasteland wedding.
Yeah,
That
the
became a
first one.
thing.
It was a bit. Yeah, now it's like every year there's a lot. I mean, how many weddings does Disco do every year now? Oh, the Mushroom Cloud Lounge, the first year of the Mushroom Cloud.
That's the other story I have. Yep. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, the Jabberwocky was fantastic. Oh my gosh. But relatively,
A simpler time.
overall, relatively,
That's what it feels
2012
like,
and
isn't it?
2013
Yeah.
looked very similar,
Yes.
right? There
I
were
would agree.
definitely differences. A lot of things changed, but overall, especially when you compare them to later years, they look very similar. So let's talk a little bit about that era.
Yeah, because like I know what I saw. Like I wasn't there. Like my first year was 2018, but so I know what I saw from the highlight reels. But like, what was your experience of the difference in vibe?
Wow. Well, yeah, to have been there for both eras and both locations at this point, right? So do we want to go into, before I forget, do we want to go into those two quick stories first, or I'll answer your question? Because like we probably want to, yeah.
Good question. All right. Are they quick stories?
The ADHD
Do the quick
has
stories
kicked
and I'll
in. Oh my goodness.
I know. I know. This is going to be really
I'm
hard.
so excited. I'm like, let me
Yeah.
talk about all the things.
Well, if you want to tell the stories, tell the stories.
Yeah.
Well, just before I forget, the bounty hunt, the bounty hunting thing where they would take photos and post them up.
Oh,
the
yeah.
wanted posters. And
they look exactly like they do now, don't they?
Yes. I completely forgot when I returned this year. I was like, oh, that's right. They do the bounty hunting thing. Well, when we did it, we were being super cheeky, and we had this like religious puppet that we found at a thrift store, and it was like we called him Jesus Sandalbottoms.
Jesus Sandalbottoms.
So this might have been one of the first times a puppet showed up to Wasteland.
Oh, fun.
And he became one of the bounty hunting we got a photo of him, and they posted his photo up on the wall with all the other ones. And so, it was very silly. And then the other thing I wanted to mention just quickly was the Mushroom Cloud Lounge, and how that was one of my absolute favorite things. And I believe it was 2013. And to go and party in their space, and their whole gimmick was, this is the only vinyl that we found. It's the post-apocalyptic times, right? Here we go. This is all. So we are going to play nothing but Rick James all night.
Just one album.
Just one album.
Because that's all that remains.
In its entirety. And it was incredible. Like, the whole concept of that to me was just like,
did it bring
wild.
you back to the times of, I only have one CD?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you just like run it and run it and run it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and then now, and this is great because now we can circle back around to like what you were asking.
Oh, yeah. What else
like,
was 2012 and 2013 like?
Yeah. And just in comparison to now, I mean, and just like,
Yeah.
I mean, I would have to say less overwhelming. Like it felt like a very close-knit community. It was still tons of fun. I had a great time. I love me an outdoor festival. Like anytime I have a chance to go do something like that, and especially immersive events, right? But like comparing that to what I experienced this year, oh my goodness! Like,
What were you expecting when you came to Wasteland?
well, and
this year?
I had a little bit of an introduction, and I know it's not fair to compare them, but at least I had an introduction to the space because I had a chance to go to Neotropolis last year.
Yeah.
So already I was like, okay, so this is now the new space where both Wasteland and Neotropolis are being held.
That was your first time on the new location.
On the new location.
In
So-
Wasteland Valley.
In Wasteland Valley, correct. So then I was like, oh, great, okay. So this is going to be this is sort of going to be the layout for Wasteland if I ever get a chance to do that again. And of course, the Neotropolis people are also Wasteland people, so all my mutual friends.
There's a lot of overlap.
A lot of overlap. So they're like, oh, well, just wait till you see Wasteland now. You haven't been in over 10 years? Oh, just wait. It is quadruple the size of Neotropolis. They were like, it's several, like, this is the main thoroughway of Neo. Well, imagine this times like 4. Like all these other thoroughways, and then there's like the whole city beyond the gates and all where everybody's camping and all of that. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be something.
Yeah. All right, I want to go back to 2012, 2013.
Okay, yes.
So you mentioned Mushroom Cloud Lounge, and that was the first time that a official public space was provided. And Wasteland worked with the Skullduggers to help them create the Mushroom Cloud Lounge. And this was actually a Carl Bartaszynski project. He wanted to have it was the Mushroom Cloud because he wanted to have a hookah bar.
That's right.
And the Mushroom Cloud was this combination, like shady space that anyone could come to, that the Skullduggers would host, and they were doing the hookah thing. And I know that year they tried to do the hookah thing, and they were like, "This is a lot of work. Like, like trying to keep hookahs up and running is not easy.
Make sure nobody burns themselves with the hot coals and
yeah." But now it's like, so many traps provide that space. But I want to know a little bit more about 2013 for you. You mentioned the population; it was just smaller. No, I'm sorry. That was Neotropolis was a quarter the size, which I think is even a smaller fraction than that when it comes down to it. But yeah. So 2013, we were at H Park.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about what did that space feel like? We talked during the highlights reel about like the aesthetic. So yeah, give me a little bit more of the lay of the land, the way it was back then.
Oh my goodness. Like, and honestly, it helped to watch the highlight reel because I'm trying to remember even what we experienced back then. Like the stage, I mean, and that seemed a lot more similar to what I experienced this year even. That seemed like it stayed the same. But I would say just a lot more sparse in terms of like structures, like solid, actual, like when you think of Zeke's or you think of the saloons and stuff like that, where people are coming in to set up actual buildings at this point. We didn't really have much of that back then. It was a lot of tents. And that's why I think with the Mushroom Cloud Lounge, I was really excited because that looked like a lot more of a legit structure that was set up with
like something semi-permanent that looked like it was built there.
Yes.
I mean, it was built there, but it looked like it was part of this city that we were slowly growing.
Exactly, yeah. And it was still, I mean, don't get me wrong, like it was still an amazing setup, and especially the front gates when you approach with all the tires and that whole metal structure thing with the sign and the double gate thing that opens up. I mean, it was all really impressive at the time. I remember showing up and just being like, wow, they went all out for this back then. Imagine thinking that. And then you go now and you're like,
I remember the Juggers had a like tree trunk, like a telephone pole structure that had a platform, and I was like, whoa, we have second floors now? Like
that's right. Yes.
Yeah. And now it's like everything's up 2 stories. I mean, we're not walking around on 2 stories, but everything's so tall and there's towers and there's
I remember everything relatively flat to the ground, like nothing really standing out other than like maybe the Wasteland main stage and with the signage and then the main gates.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely.
And then you talk about things being sparse, and I remember like inside the walls, like inside the city, was kind of in a ring-like structure at first. At least that's the way it felt.
Yes.
But also was sparse with time. Oh. In a lot of ways, daytime. Oh. Nothing happened.
Now that you're bringing that up, I mean, I recall like the bounty hunting stuff was exciting because there wasn't a whole lot of activities happening back then. It's a lot of just like, hey, we're all going to just hang out and camp.
Yeah.
And we're going to just, stay out of the sun during the day and then go out at night. Nighttime was the time.
Yeah.
And now I apologize that I'm doing a lot of comparison because it's easy for me to like do the back and forth.
Yeah.
But compared to this year, jam-packed with activities.
Yeah.
All day.
An overwhelming amount of like tribe run stuff.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I don't know for sure because I didn't actually do the event list this year for the Wastelander, but it seemed to me like the event list was longer. Like there were more unofficial, like just tribe run events happening than it has, to my knowledge, which I love, but it also triggers me a little bit because I can't go to them all. But
I know, that's the thing. I want to do all the things that it's just like, no, you have to not.
Impossible.
Right.
But still, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even possible to get to every tribe camp anymore. Oh like it used to be, you just walk around and you could visit everybody.
Yes.
But now you can't. There's just...
Oh, and there's things happening out in the boonies.
Yes.
Just where people are camping. And then I hear about, oh yeah, did you hear this happen? Or then there's, you mentioned there's a space, or someone told me this, like it's where it's the quiet area.
Oh, yeah.
It's way out in the boonies. I forget what it's called, but it's like where people will camp to...
Silent Death.
Silent Death.
Yeah, those last 3 blocks are the furthest you can get from the stage, and that's generally where if you are a early sleeper or a light sleeper, you head out there. And you get a little bit more space for your camp, but it's a longer walk to get in.
It's a longer walk. And just being able to ride on the back of some vehicles and drive around the whole thing. Because there's no way, my feet would be killing me. But like by the end of that, but like hearing that, oh, maybe Silent Death, that's the one area where you can have peace and nothing's happening.
Right.
But other than that, even like where people are camping, they're doing stuff.
Yeah. I remember like 2013... it was people kind of entertaining themselves. Like tribes would just come up with weird things to do in their own camp.
Yes.
There was obviously a lot of barter tables still. There was Barter Town where we had a few vendors, not a lot.
And the casino.
And the casino was doing their thing. But they usually opened up during like sundown.
That's right. That's right.
That's still their thing though. Right? They currently, I know they open up around, I think, 7.
Yeah.
That sounds about
Yeah,
right.
daytime activities were sort of few and far between. I remember at the time the costume contest was held during the day, which is very interesting. And now it's held at dusk, I think. Or
right around sunset.
Yeah. So that was a thing. And this might have been 2012, but in terms of like some of the nighttime programming, I very specifically remember in the main encampment where we were staying, we were sharing it with Jack Dagger, and I think you mentioned another name. Dave
Baker.
Dave Baker, I believe, was also there.
Dave Baker, weapons maker.
Yes, so it was Dave Baker at Jack Dagger, and then we had shared a stage area where they did like a stomp-esque type of
I remember
performance.
that. It was one of my favorite things.
Yes, they were banging
I was like,
on the
holy
trash
shit,
cans.
these people are like doing something.
So we were camping like right there next to it.
And you guys were kind of in the middle of the city, like it wasn't blocks back then. A lot of the tribes that were in the middle were just like, you're here.
Yeah, we're just there. And then we were able to like just hide our regular looking tents just behind a little curtained off area. It's like, don't look behind the curtain.
Yeah.
There's nothing happening over here. No muggle things. I like to call it.
We were really close because I was in the Dukes and we were literally stone's throw across the way there. Yeah. I bet if I look at my footage, I have some of you. That's where we're at.
I did see some of, like, I think me riding on the back of Ted's car and some of that footage from 2012. It's wild.
So, like, the Dukes were there already.
Yeah, the Dukes formed for the 2011 event. I joined in the 2012 event.
Mm-hmm. But, like, what other tribes were around at the time? Or
you would probably know better than
I mean, I can probably name a few. It's hard. But I remember I mentioned when we watched the highlight reel, APOC Nation was the first like ward before we even had wards. It was a collective of a bunch of tribes that were doing their thing. But the Mutant Hunters had been really consistent. Sharky's tribe, the Gas Runners, what the hell? Petro Pirates.
Yeah.
They were a tribe, and they had many more people back then. Let's see, there were the Dukes, there were the Juggers. Fixer had his own thing back then. It's so hard to remember them all, and I feel bad for all the tribes.
No. I was just curious. I do want to quiz you.
But yeah, it was the Dagger and Dark's like Midnight Emporium or something weird like that. That tribe was called, right?
I feel like we should have done some research before we started the podcast.
Well, we tried. We tried.
No, I mean, it's hard. How do you recall stuff from like 10 plus years ago?
Yeah.
But
No, but if you're listening and you were a part of it,
comment, please.
Oh yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah,
Let us know.
Let's start the conversation in the below the video. But yeah, some tribes have continued all the way through, and of course we've had tribes come and go over the years, which is and a lot of the same people come back with different tribe names, just doing a new idea from time to time, which is pretty cool. Let's see some other stuff from 2013. I looked this up because we were just hanging out with Mercury Lestrange last night.
Yes, we were.
They had on a sweater that was like a limited edition, like a tour sweater so it had each year in the population, and I was like, oh my god, let me take a picture of that because I always need this information. 2013, the population of Wasteland was 952. We had not even crested 1,000 by then.
Wow,
which is crazy. And just for reference, the official population for 2024, this past event, was 3,579, so almost 4 times as many.
That's
which
incredible.
Ultimately that's pretty slow growth for an event like this over that amount of time, but still a huge difference. And I believe we peaked somewhere in the 4,000s in 2019 before the pandemic kind of like set us back a little bit. Okay. But yeah, just think about that, like less than 1,000 people versus the 4,000 people that show up now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is pretty wild.
That is very wild. And I mean, it is like going back and having this insane amount of to me anyways, of growth and like this sense of community that I was able to come back into. Because like, clearly it's like, oh, how am I now able to go back to all these events again? It's like I moved back to California a year ago, decided, after almost 17 years in Colorado, I'm like, it's time to come back home because I grew up in San Jose, and I'm like, and this is where the industry is, and might as well come back, especially after all the strikes. So what a heck of a time to come back. But
tough time to be in LA.
Tough time, but I've been making it work, and I'm glad that I came back, and now I'm like, okay, I want to make, luckily I had some friends already that I met through mutuals from my Colorado group, introducing me to the California crew. I'm also, for Neo, I'm part of Daishiki. So through like my buddy Omar and who's also a Wastelander, I was able to like grow this community and make a lot of really cool friends very quickly, which is sometimes unheard of as an elder millennials and adults, right, in this world. And
can't relate.
I know, right? So I just a shout out to like how wonderful it has been, like what a wonderful journey it's been for me to come back and be welcomed with open arms into the Wasteland community again. And
well, that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
That's part of why we love it, because it's to me it's unheard of, the inclusion and that kind of community.
Yeah.
So I will say that not to say that in 2013 there wasn't that going on, but it was, like you said, a smaller group of people. And there was a lot more focus on the presentation aspect, the fan base for the Mad Max movies. And there's still that clearly for the Fallout fan base, the Mad Max fan base, and a lot of the other post-apocalyptic stuff going on. But like, it's grown so much in a way that I'm like, wow, there's really a lot of acceptance here.
Yeah.
In so many ways, a lot of community. So anyways,
All right. So we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to go hawk some goods. We're going to come back. We're going to hear a lot more about... first off, I want to hear your perspective on costumes then and now. But I want to talk about 2024 and your perspective on like coming back to this event you hadn't been to in over a decade and how much had changed. And of course, I do want to dive more into Neotropolis as well. So quick break, guys, and we will be right back. In a world full of holes...
The hole in the ozone.
Potholes.
Pinholes.
Manholes.
And ass.
Associated empty spaces.
Not what I was going to say.
Well, you know what fills holes?
I've got a few ideas.
Patches.
Right.
They'll fill the hole in your jeans, the hole in your soul, and the hole in your mailbox.
Holy moly, that's a whole lot.
Yep. With the Apocalypse Post's Patch of the Month Club on Patreon, you'll get an original, sometimes exclusive, post-apocalyptic patch sent to your mailbox every month. And you'll be helping support this channel and all its content.
So how do I get in on this whole thing?
Sign up at patreon.com/theapocalypsepost at the $10 tier or above. Make sure your address is added to your profile and you'll get a patch in the mail every month. There's also 2 and 4 patch tiers for tribes of those very specific sizes.
Well, ain't that the whole shebang?
Now you're just digging yourself a hole.
Well, shut your pipe hole and sign me up.
Holy crap. They get it.
Hold on just a minute.
Okay.
What's the hold up?
The Apocalypse Post's Patch of the Month Club. We'll fill your holes. Sure.
The Love Bombs provide top-notch outcomes for the most discriminating clients all across the wasteland. When you need executive escort and protection, intelligence analysis, direct action, or other specialized solutions, the Love Bombs provide a bespoke option tailored directly to your needs. Listen to this heartfelt testimonial from one of the Love Bombs' satisfied clients.
I hired the Love Bombs to save my precious Pookie Pie from them there scabs over yonder. They was fixing to turn his poor hide into jerky. Woo! Whew! I reckon not a one of those bastards will walk away from this scuffle. Goodness gracious, I reckon I ain't ever seen a gun that big. The Love Bombs will give your enemies a licking they won't soon forget.
Yes, the Love Bombs. They're polite, professional, and have a plan to kill everyone they meet. The Love Bombs provide complete confidentiality in their free initial consultation. That's right, the initial consultation is absolutely free. Remember, The Love Bombs, artillery available.
All right, guys, welcome back. Of course, this is MakeShift. We have Shepard and Captain Bingos.
At your service.
That name just makes me chuckle.
Good. That was the whole point of it.
Yeah.
I
love it.
I like taking charge when I have to, so that's the captain part. And then Bingos was just silly. Just silliness.
I love it. And there's prizes when you play Bingos.
There you go.
I don't know where I'm going with that, but
several bingo cards at once. I like that.
yeah. All right. So we've heard a whole lot about 2012, 2013, the early days of Wasteland Weekend, which at the time felt already so old. But I want to start talking about just the differences that you've seen having missed 10 years, because I lived through the evolution, the slow change with a few evolutionary hot points like 2017 when we moved to the new location. Mm-hmm. Of course, Shepard, your first year was 2018.
Yeah.
The year later.
Yeah. So for me, the only kind of change that I had was I had 18 and 19, and 18 was, everything was so big and so new. And then COVID break. And then the past couple of years that all feel like home. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, it's all blending for me. And I for one think it's really fascinating to hear the contrast kind of story.
Yeah. Because those years are kind of smack in the middle at this point.
Yeah.
When you entered. So we have a lot of different perspectives in this room, which is pretty wild. All talking about this one event. But yeah, let's start talking about where it is today and how it's changed over time. So
oh, goodness. Well, definitely way more tribe driven. Just so much going on. I mean, we kind of went over this earlier of just that now there's so much to do all day, every day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So many activities that are either hosted by the main crew, main events. Mm-hmm. There's going to be the main stage events. There's what is it? The battles, the wrestling, is it Death Guild holds?
Yeah, the juggers.
The juggers.
There's the Thunderdome. There's knife fights. There's
just
wrestling
stuff.
Yes, all of that. And
I loved watching Shepard get into the wrestling because Shepard, you have a history in wrestling, right?
Yes, kind of.
Oh my! You gotta tell me how was that?
Yeah, give us this story.
Real quick.
Quick version.
Well, back in Sweden, Scandinavia has a wrestling scene, WWE style wrestling scene that is honestly fucking delightful. It is so our cities are so much smaller than it's nothing like LA, New York, nothing. But the spirit there is just fantastic. I ended up through being a nerd and LARPer going to the wrestling in Gothenburg, arguably the best wrestling scene in all of Scandinavia.
I thought you were going to say the world, and I was like, wait a second. But
them fighting words. Uh-oh.
I know, I'm Swedish. I can't be that boisterous. But no, so I ended up, from going to wrestling, I ended up getting included into the wrestling, not as a wrestler, even though I thought that might be a fun thing to do if I'd stayed in Sweden, but cool. As a sidekick, a.k.a. manager, I was a manager.
So you were pallbearer to the Undertaker. Is that fair?
I was the sidekick manager to a heel.
A bad
face
guy.
and heel, a bad guy.
Yeah.
Heel is a bad guy. Face is the good guy.
This.
Yeah. And if you want to learn more, The Wrestler, that indie film that came out a few years ago, 10 plus years ago, so fun. Anyway, Keep going.
yeah. No. So that's all that it was. It was.
But
in Sweden, you're able to have a heel that is like a priest character. I feel like that's a little bit more controversial in the US. I don't know.
There's been characters like that, like different.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, like WWE, formerly WWF.
Yeah.
The World Wrestling Federation
yeah.
that got called out by the World Wildlife Foundation. Like, how did that happen? How was the World Wildlife Foundation like, hey, I think you're infringing on our thing.
Yeah. Oh
But yeah, they switched to WWE long after I had stopped watching. But
yeah, no, that's all that it was. It was nothing really cooler than that. I was just part of it, and it was really fun.
That's so fun.
And the spirit of it is amazing. And to me, the main thing is, you're with your kind of people when everybody is just so willing to get involved with the story. The story is like that's the main part of it, right? So when everybody is like, yaying and booing for the right people, it's just fantastic.
That was so fun for me
experience.
because we walked over there together right when the show started, and you got so into it, and you were hitting all the cues, and I was like, this is like what I learned about British theater, like British street theater, right? Because the whole crowd knows who to boo for, knows who to cheer for. They all get in on it, and you fell right into it, and it was just really fun because it made it more fun for me to be next to you, because I was like, oh, I'll just cheer for who she cheers for, because you knew. But yeah, it was really fun. And that's the Wasteland Takedown Federation, the WTF.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to have to catch it next year because that sounds incredible.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, you missed it. That was one of the very few new, like brand new things this year.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, again, like the overwhelm of choice paralysis.
Oh my God.
Of so many things. And I have to give a shout out to a couple of the things that I really enjoyed. Like, there's a masquerade ball this year.
Yeah.
With the Wasted Saints.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that was cool.
It was cool.
There's just stuff like that I'm like, wow, now there's like all these added layers. Because it's like, not only do we have to be post APOC while we were, costume wise, like while we're out there, but now I got to think about what am I going to wear to the masquerade ball that's still going to be in theme for the whole event and stuff.
That was my least theme night because it's Saturday night.
No,
Friday night.
I think it was Friday night.
Yeah, because it was on Fancy Friday.
Yeah.
And it's dark out, and I was like, I don't really have anything fancy, so I ended up throwing on these pants, which are not worn in at all, but have some color, and then like a lacy vest, and it's dark out. No one knows.
No.
So I cheated.
It's okay. In the end, we're all there to have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I loved. I mean, it's just so much to do. So much.
And at the end of the day, Formal Friday is an invitation, not a requirement.
Oh, of course.
It's just like, do you want to do formal? Like, you can still go Wasteland Basic for the entire event if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's open to all levels
Absolutely.
of sort of engagement.
Yeah. All right, but you, since we're on costumes right now, you mentioned that back in the day, you judged the costume contest.
I did.
And of course now, did you were a part of the costume contest this year, or at least you got a preview?
I got a preview. Shout out to one of my besties, Hale, who was one of the judges this year for the costume contest. So I escorted her over.
Oh, very nice.
Just because I was curious. I had another engagement I had to go get ready for, but I wanted to at least like check out the contestants as they were making their way to the stage. Yeah. So they were all kind of corralled to the side of the stage at that time, and I went and snapped a couple photos.
Oh,
and
very nice.
Got to like check out up close like the detail of some of the costumes, the participants of the contest, and I'm like, oh my,
it's pretty mind-blowing.
Goodness.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It was incredible. And like, again, we talk about how there's a lot of industry folks that come out for this. We're 2 hours outside of LA.
Right.
But and people travel from all over the place for this and they go all out. And there was like a Rococo style dress, like Marie Antoinette style.
Oh yeah,
like with the big wig, but post-apocalyptic version of what that would be.
Yeah, on first glance you'd be like, no, this doesn't fit, but then the details on that dress were actually incredible.
Yeah. Like there was this big like hooded hoop figure, like he had like this like harness thing, this hooped harness thing over his head, and like fake maggots sewn in all over, and it was just, I took a closer look, and I'm like, those are not real, are they? Like real, like taxidermy maggot. I'm like,
It's like, look, they wriggle.
I mean, it was disgusting in the most exquisite way.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
But yeah, like everybody just brought their A game,
Yeah.
and it was a delight to see it, as
All
a
right,
costume
so
designer.
give me a little bit of comparison, like a decade ago till now.
Oh my goodness. I'm trying to remember, because I believe the person who won, and it was a direct cosplay from the Thunderdome, the third Mad Max film.
Uh-huh.
It was Tina Turner's character.
Auntie Entity.
Yes. And so it was is it completely out of safety pins, I believe? Or
What, really?
Like it was, I forget, like it was, they did like a recreation, but it was incredible. Like
Wow.
it was all like the whole like
Oh, I'm
epaulets
sure there's
off
going to
the
be pictures that
shoulders
we
and
can find at some
yeah,
point.
and so I believe, I mean,
It sounds beautiful.
back then, like people were really doing their best to do like the screen accurate.
There was a lot more of that.
Cosplay,
Yeah.
like this is they like I even with my former partner Ryan there was like a forum that all the Bartertown guards would go. I know I'm probably saying that I call them the Bartertown guards because it's from the movie, but
Right.
like where they could source the football pads from Australia.
Oh, yeah.
and the car parts and all
Yep.
the pieces,
Yeah.
so that it was as screen accurate as possible. So you were getting impeccable recreations of
Yeah.
costumes from the films, and then the people, just like the patrons, the people showing up to dress in any sort of post-apocalyptic garb. Like I saw some pretty cool stuff back then. I think there was an Elvis back then, and I think he still attends to this day.
Yeah, what a fun story. We've told that story before, and,
yeah.
and we've even had Michael on.
And-
Yeah, he's retired the Elvis, but he
Okay.
did make an appearance this year. You saw him, if you were there, you saw him dancing on top of the WCC for hours one night, just as like a
It was Saturday
phantasm.
night.
Yeah,
I love that. See, and that was a delight. And then I recall that there was this whole gimmick that this group did where they looked like 1950s or 60s, like party goers. Like they were at some sort of cocktail party and they had to hit a bomb shelter, and then came out of the bomb shelter all disheveled and acting like they didn't know where they were, and they're holding their martini glasses, just walking around the event.
because it was Reclamation Day for them.
Yes. So yeah. So it was very much
Clever.
like stuff like that back then. I was so amused by and delighted by. I was like,
Did
this
you
is
see
great.
this year there was a group of like Golden Girls running around kind of doing a similar shtick?
I missed it. I missed. See,
I fucking love Golden Girls.
I would have loved that. That's the kind of stuff that I when I'm out and about, like at these events, I live for those moments because it's such a delight.
It is.
You don't
Yeah.
expect those things.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about how 2013 was a lot of like leathers, very Bartertown. What would you say the aesthetic is now versus that?
Oh my goodness. A lot more attention to dirtying up and weathering your clothing, and looking more lived in and more authentic, as if you had to wear the clothing for the last 20 years. So there's a lot of that.
So a little bit more of like maybe like independent art versus cosplay.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, and it's wild because like the clean like leather BDSM stuff was huge in the Mad Max universe, like in the movies, and it was generally pretty clean. But when you start adding in all the lore of Wasteland Weekend, and it's this place where all the tribes gather, it's in the lore of the event, there has been a worldwide cataclysm. It has been a long time, and we've had to survive without manufacturing, without general trade, with people having to learn to do things themselves. And that lore has spread to everybody. So, the inside joke, more dirt. has become a rallying cry for people to really up their games in a lot of ways.
Rip up your fishnets, dirty up your costumes. I'll admit, I kind of had to scramble because I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to make it this year. And so in like the last month right up to the event, I was like bleaching clothing.
Oh, yes.
And
Same.
like, you were here for some of that the one night we were crafting. And I was like, I need to bring my A game, and I'll of course improve upon what I've already made and just keep adding to it year after year now. But yeah, I don't see as much. You will see the cleaner look on some people, where they got some goth garb, or like their tights aren't ripped up or whatever it is. I gave, actually, my roommate attended this year for the first time, and we were giving him some shit about, hey, you're wearing a pristine black t-shirt, sir. You need to dirty that up immediately.
One of my impressions Wednesday of this event was, oh my God, there's so many bad costumes. But it had switched by Thursday. So I think a lot of people got there, set up their camps. It took all day. They threw something on, just wanted to go visit the city.
Yes.
That's my impression. And maybe some people showed up without doing a ton of research, or a friend invited them and didn't give them the full lowdown.
Yeah. That's happened. That's happened a lot. As much as we think that anybody who's going to Wasteland or is about to go to Wasteland, well, they know. They just know.
Right. Yeah.
No, maybe they don't. And that's somehow just gonna, it's gotta be okay. It's gonna happen.
Right.
But what can we do as a community to help them?
To help them and not shame them.
Exactly.
And
of
just
course.
give them some pointers. And there's some Burning Man Wasteland crossover.
Yes.
And so then you tend to get a little bit of like a Burning Man aesthetic mixed in with the Wasteland aesthetic.
Or people that are used to going to like concerts and just wearing like jeans and a black t-shirt and calling it, post-apocalyptic just because it's,
there's some holes in their jeans.
Yeah. But by Thursday,
yeah,
like people had really cleaned up. And when I say cleaned up, I mean dirtied up their act.
Nice.
In a lot of ways. Like it felt so different. I think that it was a testament to the community, like helping people out with costumes and people being willing to make that adjustment to fit the aesthetic more.
Yes.
But I noticed a palatable difference in the
once
day.
Once you're there and once and you see people and you're like, oh God, this maybe I don't really, not that you don't fit in, but like I want to fit in more.
Right.
And you're told how, and you're invited to.
Yeah.
And
then the pieces are there. People have extra stuff. There's Bartertown where you can buy things.
Yes.
Restorationists were there, right?
Yeah, they were there again. Yeah. And that's a tribe where you can go and just get dirtied up as part of their shtick.
I was able to get shotgun shells.
What?
For a bandolier that I wore for one of the most popular outfits I wore was my mariachi outfit.
Oh, yeah. That looked great, by the way.
So representing my culture a little bit. But yeah, and I had like my big mariachi sombrero and everything. And
it was beautiful.
At the last minute, because I couldn't secure any, I didn't have time to go to like a gun range where they would have just the empty shells. And then a friend of mine who was running a booth was like, hey, I 3D printed these. You just have them. And I was like, you are wonderful. Thank you so much. So you can really complete your costume while you're at Wasteland.
Absolutely.
Oh, true story.
Another big thing that happened between the last time you went, 2013, and this year, and it's not one big thing. It's a lot of things. Fury Road, Furiosa, Fallout the TV show, Fallout 4, Fallout 76. Like we've had a lot of new media to work in that is entirely within the theme of Wasteland Weekend.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I mean, post-apocalypse movies have been very popular over the last forever.
And I'm like, even for that, a bunch more like zombie stuff and even outside of the general nerd specific universes. Yeah, because even like The Walking Dead and all of its spin-offs have come off since then. And while we don't do zombies in particular at Wasteland, the stuff they're wearing works. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That's
yes.
Yeah.
100%.
So we saw a lot of influence from that this year. Did you spot anything in particular that caught your fancy?
I did see a few Furiosa cosplays that were pretty spot on. And then I know, forgive me, but I am not that familiar with Fallout. I did watch the show. But I have not played the game.
The show was great.
The show, yeah.
How dare you?
I know.
How dare you?
With
Wait,
my
so
busy
you're not too familiar with Mad Max. You don't play the games.
Hide under a bridge now forever. I have since seen, and I love Fury Road. It was incredible. So at least to go and see that in theaters, and Furiosa. I know that there's been some mixed feelings about Furiosa, but I really enjoyed it.
No mixed feelings from me.
I loved it.
Oh my God.
Good. At
so
least I'm
good.
amongst
Every
good company
time.
here. I really enjoyed it, and so yeah. I mean, I didn't. I'm trying to recall if I saw. I know I saw some Fallout, like with the blue jumpsuit, or what is it? The blue.
Yeah.
Like I saw some of that happening.
Yeah, the vault suits.
Yes, the vault suits, and so.
But genuinely, you don't have to know any Fallout, or really, you don't have to know any Mad Max stuff.
Nope.
If you're just into the aesthetic and you're down to be receptive, be partaking of this community, this vibe, then it doesn't matter. You don't have to feel like you have to have watched all the things.
Right.
To know,
It's not about that.
It's a buffet.
And Wasteland has its own
what you
lore.
want.
Like we reference a lot of Fallout, we reference a lot of Mad Max, but Wasteland has its own lore, and everyone has the ability to add to it
Yes.
at any time, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Every tribe has their own backstory. Some of them jive together, some of them don't.
That's something I really did want to touch on for going back in 2024, is that it really has become its own thing at this point.
Yeah.
People have taken it, and I really enjoy that. It's great because you can use Mad Max or Fallout as like a tether. Like if you're really into those things, great.
Yeah.
And if that's what brings you into Wasteland, fantastic. But if you're like, I just, like you said, if you just like the aesthetic, or even just like, wow, this just looks like a lot of fun. How do I get involved?
Yeah.
And try it. Even if you want to dip your toe in, as long as you show up in some sort of costume, because you gotta, but and see if it's for you, like we're here to say we don't want to deter anybody from attending if they don't know the Rolodex of things,
Oh
right?
God, no, you don't need to.
So
If you want to, you'll have dozens of people who want to tell you all about it.
Yeah.
A special interest, yes, of course, yeah.
But yeah, no pressure.
Yeah.
So one of the big things that changed for me during this time, between the early days and now, back in 2012, 2013, and this is coming all the way from Jared, the owner, coming to Wasteland Weekend was this is a rough quote, is like being a background extra in a Mad Max movie, or being on the set of a movie.
Yes.
And it was very much that at the time. Nowadays, I say, and I think a lot of people would agree, it's more like being the main character in a post-apocalyptic video game. And a lot of that has to do with tribe missions and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it used to be we were all witness to this thing happening around us, oddly enough, even the people that were more participatory. But now it's it is a choose your own adventure. It's get as deep into the lore and into character as you want. And with all the tribe missions, there is so much to do. And you talked about the overwhelm, but I think the tribe missions gave people a real way to connect intimately with the event that was not there in the early years.
Yes. Absolutely. I agree with that completely. It's awesome. I love that analogy of it's, we were witnesses to this immersive theater happening all around us. And now, and now we get to be, it's sure, you want to be the main character, you want to be a side character, you want to be an NPC or whatever, but we get to have a more curated experience. We get to do the curation, though.
Yeah.
We get to choose how we're going to experience the festival.
Right.
And I think that's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember somewhere along the way, it used to be that they didn't want competing entertainment. Because like when there was something on the main stage, no tribe's allowed to do anything. Like, because we need an audience. Because there's only 1,000 people. And
that makes sense.
If we don't get 50 people up to the stage, then what are we even doing? And now that whole idea is gone because there's just so many people. There's so much happening. And there's more than enough audience to go around in a lot of ways, which is great. And in a lot of ways, we're just all there entertaining each other, which is really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I sang karaoke like twice there, like on Wednesday and Saturday. Like it was fantastic. I was like, wait, what? There's drag shows now. There's karaoke. There's
Burlesque.
masquerade. There's burlesque. There's like, I was like, oh my goodness. Like it was incredible. Yeah. I loved
There's
it.
talent shows and drinking games and
Yes.
mystery, like murder mysteries.
Yes.
And tea parties and board games.
Yeah.
And just anything.
Yeah.
You can
Anything you can imagine, just make it, again, just make it dirty, dusty. Not dirty, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You add some dust to it. Make it post-APOC.
Yeah. And one of the things I noticed early on, and this is going all the way back to 2012, 2013, Wasteland has always been this living, breathing city that has had to grow 1 week at a time or a few days at a time over the course of a decade and a half now. Wastelanders will find the gaps in the city and fill them. If we need a tribe that provides a certain service, that tribe will show up. We've had coffee company tribes. We've had recycling tribes. We've had, of course, lots of entertainment tribes, shade tribes, water tribes, just all the...
games, entertainment, of all different sorts, right?
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. People fill the gaps. Like we're creating a functioning society in a weird way. Even though it's the post-apocalypse, like we are rebuilding the way we want society to be.
In the most
so many ways.
beautiful way.
It's almost like secretly it's a utopia, even though
In a
it's
weird
supposed to
way,
be a
right?
dystopian.
I know, that's the
but
thing.
That's when I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I was like, oh, is this going to be really like hardcore, like, and don't get me wrong, like this whole punk rock angry, like, yeah, we're in the apocalypse, like craziness. That sort of was the vibe earlier on. And when I came back this year, I was like, oh my goodness, this is a very similar vibe to what I experienced at Neotropolis last year. And lo and behold, because it is a lot of the same people, the crossover.
Yeah.
So the vibes, it was like, this feels more like a fun utopia to me anyways, than it does like, oh, we have to be all like, just angry.
And no offense to anyone that only does one event, but I find that the people that do both to be some of my favorites because, and this is just me, this isn't everybody, but I find Wasteland to celebrate the masculine. I find Neotropolis to celebrate the feminine. I feel like there's a wonderful yin-yang dichotomy going between the two events.
I agree.
And the people that do both, there's like a certain magic there.
I love both. I will say that Neotropolis is a little more my aesthetic. And so that's why I was a little hesitant to go back to Wasteland. And then now having experienced both in more recent years, so last year and this year, I'm like, oh my goodness. I think now I'm at a point where I love both equally.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to go back to Neotropolis. Of course, I had to miss it this year for work. I'm so sad. But
what year of Neo did you go to?
I went last year, 2023.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
It was
a good one.
Fantastic. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, but this year was even better.
I
It's
know.
true. Yeah, you missed out on
You're
a
gonna
lot.
bum me out. I mean, I know.
It just means you have to come back
I
next
know.
year.
I missed it for a valid reason. I got to go work on a film, so I was lucky for the work, which is few and far between now with everything going on. But
of course.
I was like, okay, I gotta work. But man, I had to sell my ticket. I at least got to go to Scum and Villainy. Like they had like a little pre-Neo celebration.
Good.
With Jared was there and a bunch of my friends. So I got to go to that and like wish everyone well and say, oh, I get to like dress up and see everybody, but then say, sorry, I can't go to the actual event. So.
All right, so let's dive into Neotropolis.
Yes.
As a creature creator, Neotropolis actually has a broader creativity because you can be an alien, you can be a robot, you can be not a fuzzy, not a furry, but you can be a fuzzy.
Yes.
Right? You can be kind of a wacky alien. You can be a wacky human.
There could be a robot Furby running around.
Absolutely.
Oh, hell yeah.
So yeah, tell me a little bit more about why Neotropolis has your heart.
Oh, I think for me, I love sci-fi fantasy. And one of my favorite films, I'm a huge Terry Gilliam fan, and one of my favorite films is Brazil. So this, I love the dystopian sci-fi, and of course, Blade Runner, of course.
I'm so shocked.
Blade Runner is a huge influence on Neotropolis. And one of my best friends, Tiffany, one of my Colorado buddies, she got to go the first year. And because it had gotten postponed because of COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she's like, oh my goodness, Kristin, you need to go to this event. She's like, she went with her husband and a couple of friends. And she's like, it was amazing. She showed me photos. I was so envious. I'm like, I am going with you next year. So
Nice.
we made a pilgrimage out from Colorado. Her and I flew out, and then our friends drove out and met us there. We got an RV and had the best time.
Awesome.
I absolutely. So part of it is personal for me because I got to go out with some really good friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And it was at a crossroads in my life where I decided, okay, I think I'm going to move back to California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I got in touch with some of my old friends, people that I knew from LA when I worked on Dark Crystal and that sort of stuff. So it just kind of all magically happened last year at Neotropolis. And so it is a little bit of a cheat to say, oh, I'm biased. I like Neo, but it is on a personal level. I got to have
Because it kind of brought you to your people.
Oh,
to
yeah.
my people,
I love that.
and so I'm really looking forward to next year, and hopefully my friends will get to come out. I'll get to celebrate my friend's 50th there. It's very special. It's a very special time for me, but Wasteland's coming in pretty close, so they're kind of neck and neck now.
Good. Well, it's good that they're 6 months apart. That gives you time to regroup and plan.
Yes.
'Cause it's really tough to do festival season, which is kind of late summer into fall.
Yes.
In general, and honestly, it's year round at this point. But it's really tough to go from one to the next. It's just tough to take the time off work and put in the time of creativity.
Yeah, it is. But to me, the main difference between Wasteland and Neo is the openness of camps. Oh, and it has been always from year one, because I've gone all 3 years of Neo, right? Mm-hmm. So saw it year one where it was a lot smaller. Mm-hmm. I don't even know the numbers, but just the way it was, and it was it was the pilot episode, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
But the difference to me that is so huge, and to me, what you were saying, that Neo brought you to, well, you didn't. I kind of pushed that on you. You didn't say that. I said that.
You're picking up what I'm putting down. You got the vibe, though. Yeah.
But that it kind of brings you to your family, and that's what Wasteland did for me. So Wasteland will forever be my thing, but I'm also a Dirt Goblin, so that's just always going to be more me. I love Neo, but the main difference to me is that my experience, at least, is that tribes at Wasteland there's more open space, to walk into camps. Mm-hmm. And with Neo, the whole setup, the whole premise for the whole thing is just different. So it doesn't
incredible
necessarily
density with kiosks rather than camps,
which
right?
has a beautiful vibe to it, but it's not necessarily the same inviting aspect.
I get
of
that.
it.
Yeah, because you
If
don't
that
walk
makes
into
sense.
a lot of, especially in Mega Block.
Yeah.
There's not spaces to walk into. There's a couple.
Yeah, but it feels a little bit more like a mall, and if you sit down for a couple seconds.
Yeah,
you don't
totally
chill there for the night.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point.
But that's just me, and that doesn't mean that I don't love it, but that's the main kind of difference.
Yeah, and for me, I like that because I
aesthetics.
love the density of being able to see a lot of different things and hear all these different story points in a short space versus Wasteland, which is outgrown walkability in a lot of ways, right?
Yes.
Because it's really hard to see it all.
It
but
is.
Neotropolis, you can do the whole thing in half an hour.
I know.
And that's with stops, you know?
Yes. Well, and I'm sure it's going to be growing exponentially.
Yeah.
Like and if I get, hopefully, you know, fingers crossed I get to go next year, I'm sure it'll have grown from the year that I missed, you know.
Yeah, and that's something I was going to bring
changes.
up is Wasteland grew from basically nothing. They did Road Warrior Weekend, which had a draw in the, I think, 100-ish people. But then by the time they did Wasteland, because much more, several more people got involved, it was like 350 people the first year. But it's been this slow growth, and it had to start from zero. Neotropolis didn't have to start from zero. They already had a lot of infrastructure from Wasteland. They already had a lot of people involved. They already had like story writers and costumers and builders and the whole infrastructure. And so they got to start not quite from zero, not from 100, but definitely not from zero. So they get to go in and put on a show year one.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. That's from what I've been told. It was right off the bat was incredible.
Yeah.
So
But so like the layout of the whole thing is very similar but different, right? So you have the main gate in almost the same place.
Right.
The main entrance to the like theme zone,
To
I guess.
Neotropolis City? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still theme zone.
So you have that, but with Neo, it's more or less main drag and Mega Block.
Yeah.
I mean, with
It's
a little
one block
bit
with
outside.
tendrils.
Yeah,
With tentacles
right?
going in
So
each
that's
direction.
the difference. Whereas Wasteland has gotten to grow
Yeah.
for blocks and blocks
Yeah.
outside, and it's sprawled, and it's huge.
It literally is like downtown sprawl as
Yeah.
a city grows. Like people just filling in.
And that's
and
like the main
neighborhoods.
kind of like city difference.
Yeah.
yeah, I will say just briefly about lighting and like the vast difference between Wasteland and Neotropolis. Oh my goodness! Like Neotropolis, of course, at night is amazing with all that neon lighting, and it's very much Blade
Contrast,
Runner,
yeah.
very all any cyberpunk amazingness that you could imagine. It really shines at night. Wasteland, on the other hand, it was very I would say like ambient lighting, like
Yeah.
incandescent, like because it needed to be, because it makes sense for the type of world that we're trying to build with Wasteland, right? So I was like, oh, it's so dark around.
Yeah, that's so
between
true.
camps, I was like,
Right.
you know, you kind of had to like, you could obviously still make your way around the main camp area, but yeah, just such a different vibe.
Yeah.
And it needs to be, because when you start introducing any kind of neon lighting to Wasteland, it's gonna
Yeah. And it has
work.
its spot if it's
Yeah.
sparse. Like I think
Yes.
Zeke's has always had this kind of like neon glow to it.
Yes.
Although I would almost say because they've gotten larger in space, it's gotten less so just by getting like spread out more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that fireside glow, that warm light, the
That's
tungsten
exactly.
look,
Yes.
yeah, is definitely more the Wasteland vibe. And of course LEDs keep getting cheaper, so we keep getting like some of these like neonish or what am I trying to say? The red, blue, green colors keep popping up.
Yes.
But I think people are really trying to stick to that vibe of just like nice warm colors and really low. You're right. Like ambient
really low.
is exactly
ambient
right.
lighting that was, you know, you kind of, there was a couple areas where I was like, oh, it's really, you kind of have to squint your eyes a little bit. Well, and then there was a couple nights where it was real dusty too.
Yeah.
But I am so grateful for the weather this year. Granted,
Oh,
it
it was
was
great.
very hot during the day. A couple times I had to go back to the RV and just like chill. I was very fortunate
Yep,
that I was
I
in
hear
an
that
RV.
one.
But yeah, everybody just needed to take, you know, some time during the
Right.
day to like hydrate and chill out.
Yeah.
But I was so grateful that we didn't have a whole lot of wind happening, because I heard Neo this year had some rough patches, and one
goodness.
real rough patch, and years prior, I think 2013 for me was a rough year. That was a very windy year at H Park.
Oh,
and that can really make or break your experience.
Oh my
at these
gosh!
festivals.
Yeah, when you're spending the whole time just trying to keep your tent up and your stuff from falling down and people alive,
And things are breaking.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
literally breaking.
Honestly, like that
Yeah.
is so sad, and
Yeah.
I know that happened for a lot of people during Neo this year.
Yeah.
Yes, I
was
heard
there
about it.
Friday was genuinely like wild. Like it was just. I have never experienced winds.
Oh yeah, your
like
tent
that.
died.
No, we were okay. We were actually fine. We managed to like just lower the pop up that we had our tent underneath. Like, but
Yeah.
it,
Oh, I'm sorry. It was Show Pony's tent that died. Yeah, they were like, "This is probably our girl's last event."
Yeah, you really have to invest if you're going to do any kind of pop-ups. Like I remember Teo from Zeke's was like, I had to invest a lot in this pop-up. Like it's got to be like the heavy duty, it's not going to go anywhere sort of thing.
Yeah, commercial version of of the easy ups.
Yes.
yeah,
So
real like just heads up for anybody who hasn't gone during a windy year. Be prepared because it might be, and look into how to windproof your
Lag bolts,
stuff.
ratchet straps,
yes.
no cheap easy ups, and use vehicles and walls for windbreaks.
Yeah,
Yeah, I brought my lag bolts for the first time this year. Game changer.
yeah,
Game changer.
right.
Holy crap. I don't know why I waited so long, mostly because I'm cheap. But I also invested a lot of money in spikes. And I finally was like, I'm just getting lag bolts. And it was so much better.
I'm sure you've done like a podcast or a video on tent preparation, right? Or,
I have not.
Okay,
Other people have.
Well, then
yes, Spud
is a
with
great
Black
idea.
Thumb did a whole. He's done some stuff on lag bolts and stuff. So
cool.
we've talked about it, and I do mention it a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah,
now, see,
just
that's a whole idea for you now.
I know.
Do a whole video
I
on
know,
it.
but I'd have to do
Yeah.
that like on site. I guess if I spend more time in LA, then it'll be a lot easier
We're
to do.
all just traumatized.
I know.
I know.
Yeah,
W.
but that's the thing. Like the community learning is so important.
Yes.
Like when people started talking about lag bolts, no one was using them yet, and then everyone uses lag bolts now.
And I'll be honest, that was I think a big deterrent for my former partner and I. Like when we went in 2013 and we had such a rough time with the wind that year, and then we were like, let's just not go for a while, and we just kind of never, for one reason or another, we just never went back. And and I would hate for people to be deterred by that.
Yeah.
Because it is such a wonderful, both Neotropolis and Wasteland are such wonderful events that it's like work smarter, not harder sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Of like, just be prepared. And there's so many resources out there, especially on YouTube and online forums and stuff where you can make sure that you have the right stuff.
I was working on the map this year and I'm looking around just finding all of the conduit shade structures because they work. Because you got this 10-foot pole that holds itself together really nice, and you can do a secondary shade for an entire camp relatively cheaply.
That's awesome.
And just seeing how like those are proliferated.
Hey, you
Thank
got
you.
there.
This portion of the evening brought to you by La Enfermera wine. It's a Toro, a red, and it is delicious.
Thank you, Clink, darling.
But yeah, shared resources, and that's something that's changed over the course of 10 years as well, is we've all learned from each other. We've learned how to survive a little bit better, and the community has only gotten tighter and tighter and tighter as the years go on.
I love it.
I'm kind of curious, like just in terms of like you being such a fantastic costume maker.
Oh, you're going to make me blush. Stop.
I will not stop. No, seriously though, you going to Neo and going to Wasteland, like, do you have like any sort of, what's your experience in the difference of like costume making between the two events?
Oh my goodness.
Good question.
I think I will say there's definitely a lot of creativity in both, but it is easier, in my opinion, to find and resource things for a cyberpunk aesthetic.
Yeah.
I actually have an inside joke with my friend where you can go on the cyber mall, you know, where you can go on Amazon or on different online shops and find like rave wear and like, you know, club wear that will work for that cyberpunk aesthetic. But, you know, it's fine to start there as a base, and I've absolutely done it. So I am not excluding myself from that. But then take it a step further. You know, there's, again, so many resources online, and like, you know, just if you start costuming and figuring stuff out on your own of like, how can I add LED lights or L-wire or whatever it is nowadays to like my costume to take it to that next level. Whether you get into 3D printing or you start sculpting and making molds of your things that like, okay, I'm going to make this helmet or I'm going to foam fabricate something. And you can start at any level. Like there's so like Evil Ted even has some great resources on YouTube of how to make like cyberpunk jaw pieces and helmets and things like that, that you can like purchase the patterns and make them at home so that you can at least show up and do that. Wasteland, on the other hand, I think there is more of a challenge there because, and like we were discussing earlier of like, how do you get things to look properly distressed? Because you could easily just take some acrylic paint, you know, like, and
I do
like,
the spray paint shortcut every year.
There you go. And there's an art to it. And that even with spray paint, you can make something look amazing.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, you know, how do you make something look lived in and like it's the same article of clothing that you were wearing on your body for the last 10 to 15 years or 20 years or whatever it is, versus something shiny, new, and chrome for, you know, even though that sounds like a quote from like...
No, it's true though.
But I get
Bad
it.
Max, but like, yeah, there's different challenges for both, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
I personally, I have this love for a cyberpunk that is sort of Wasteland adjacent, where things are more like you're poor, but in a cyberpunk environment, meaning you not everybody has new clothes. You might have the same kind of shirts for multiple years, or you know, like I like the worn
playing
look.
up that
I
more
like
dystopian
There's
future.
the dystopian,
Right.
because there's the shiny, there's the corpo, and then there's like, you know, the robotic look or the shiny chrome. Everything's pristine and very much like kind of almost that anime, like Japanese, like everything's crisp and clean. But then I love that too, the dystopian side of cyberpunk.
Like Cyberpunk, the game had that, right?
Yes.
There was the corpo. I forget what the other one was, and the Wastelander, the ones that live outside the cities.
Yeah.
And also one of my favorite shows, The Strata, post-apocalyptic dystopian, plays a lot on those themes of like the high city people and then the survivors that are outside the limits.
So that being a podcast.
Yes, that's another audio drama that I've been listening to a whole lot. It's really great. You got to listen to it. And then listen to Legends of Wasteland City. Plug.
Oh yeah, I'm not into a lot of podcasts or audio dramas, other than this one. But I did, on your recommendation, listen to Strata, and
good.
I thought it was really pretty great.
Sweet, yeah, it definitely fits. Like it kind of fits a little bit of Wasteland, but it definitely fits Neotropolis in a lot of ways. Nice. But it's the down and out side of it. It's always from this outsider perspective, which is just great. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. And kind of playing on that dystopian, like the dirty future, which Star Wars uses a lot. And so do a lot of like.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. And it helps anytime you can take a costume to the next level and add some distressing to it, which I have to remind myself of that. I'm horrible of that as well. Of like, oh, that's right. Let me add some dirt to this.
Yeah. Especially when you're doing multiple costumes.
Yes. Yeah. And it tells a story and it looks more lived in and more realistic.
Yeah.
And it looks like you walked off a movie set in a way, right? Yeah.
Totally.
So yeah, I think definitely if depending on your budget, And especially if you're just starting out, there's nothing wrong with finding some things on Amazon or on some online shops or at a raver store or wherever you can find things. I mean, I happened to find some pieces at a rave store in Utah.
Oh,
randomly.
wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I was there.
There's a rave store in Utah?
There's several. And I happened to be in town for Sundance last year,
sense.
and
Yeah,
I
'cause
was
it's a big
like,
festival
you
state.
know what? I'm just gonna check out this store because I'm buying some stuff for Neotropolis, and then, but it's then okay. You have these bases now. Take it to the next level.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah.
Yeah. I got most of my stuff off the shelf and then just did a little bit of work for Neo because I wasn't sure about Neo the first time I went. I wasn't sure. I wanted to go check it out. But it was just so impressive and so much creativity, so much story. And of course, at that one, I get to be more participant. Although now at Wasteland, I do too. So big differences.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're such big nerds, aren't we?
Why do you gotta call us out like that?
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm perfectly normal.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So you mentioned like the survival at these events. Now that we are all 10 years older than we were back then, do you find that having the creature comforts, that having the shade, and like just less of the survivorship and more of the enjoyment of the event has become a bigger thing for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been very fortunate that the last two events, so both Neotropolis and Wasteland, 2023 and 2024. So I got to stay in an RV.
Yeah.
With friends. And it can be a little costly if you can find a group of people that you can split the cost with.
Right.
And that sort of thing. And then like this year with Clink, I was very fortunate that she was willing to share her RV with me.
Good.
So, and like even then, car camping or like you've mentioned where if you're going to do tent camping and having the shade structure, an additional structure over your tents.
Yeah.
Just doing things like that to make your experience more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I know people that even Airbnb in California City.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
It's
or stay at the
wild.
hotel.
Yeah, multiple.
Yes.
Like
yes.
people commute in that live nearby.
Yes.
Yep.
So there's so many ways to do it. Like if you're not really an outdoors person and you don't want to rough it, there's other ways to enjoy these festivals for sure.
Yeah. And one of the things I kind of like re-noticed this year was not every tribe is a camp tribe. A lot of them are just putting on the presentation. Like Zeke's, I don't know if they have a tent in the place. I think that most of them sleep elsewhere.
They did. They have their satellite camp right across.
Yeah. So a lot of the camps aren't necessarily like people staying there. It's just their set piece. And you can kind of camp wherever you want and then just go to your tribe and live the day there. But yeah, so a lot of people do RVs. The map shows way more campers than I ever would have expected. Of course, people also camp in their cars.
Yes.
Some people camp on cots or hammocks.
Yeah.
Like people do rough it, but you don't have to. And for me, I don't want to rough it anymore. Because I want to wake up feeling good,
Yes,
and rested and hydrated, and be able to go enjoy as much of the day as possible. So those creature comforts are pretty special, and we are all just a bunch of like dirt goblin creatures.
Getting old.
getting old.
No,
Hey,
I will admit that 100%. Like I got this back.
We are immortal. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, we needed some blood of a virgin.
Oh no! Oh my goodness! Next year at Wasteland, watch out. We're gonna do it. Have our little ritual. Oh no! Oh no! I'm gonna get us into some.
Just luring people in. Just like, hey, give us your blood. Oh wait, you are tainted. Go away.
This is how we keep our youthful looks.
Yes. Oh, but so fun. All right, guys, we got to wrap things up because, wow, we got into it tonight.
We sure did.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
Did we want to mention a little bit about actual Kristin?
Of course we do.
The real me.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Did I just out your name?
No, we
that's
mentioned
totally
earlier.
fine.
Yeah.
No, actually, that's perfect.
Yeah, so before we go, tell us a little bit about what you're working on and what what you're doing here.
What am I doing here?
Yeah.
Well, so it's like almost like tiny living in a way. Even though I do live on a big property, I do have my own little studio space in the back house, this wonderful bungalow. And sometimes I work on my own art, which is nice. And it's about time that I finally get back to it. I've had the pleasure of working on a couple of indie films this year. I was very fortunate to get some work and a couple of fun projects. And now, I think as we wrap up the year, this last few months, I am looking for potential gigs. I've got a couple of leads. Can't really mention anything yet.
Of course.
But, and that's the thing is like, I don't want to jinx anything. But, I'm thinking I want to get a couple of art dolls back up on my Etsy shop.
You've shown us a couple of things tonight.
Wait, you have an Etsy shop?
I do. I know it's, oh my goodness. It's been a little quiet there. There hasn't been anything for a while.
Well, what is what would this Etsy shop be called?
It's K. Dalleske Designs. K. Dalleske Designs. I have to say that again.
Hold on, was that K. Dalleske Designs?
Yes. K. Dalleske Designs. All right. We're going to say it over and over and over again. Well, and
like a really bad a radio commercial. That's KDaleskeDesigns.com. KDaleskeDesigns.com. Once more.
I know. Well, and so the thing with all of my socials, I have such a unique last name.
Yeah.
I am the only Kristin Dalleske. So if you Google me, all of my stuff will come up. My IMDb, my Instagram, Facebook, great. All of that. So and my Instagram handle is Kristin Dalleske Productions. So I was like, you know what? No clever nickname here. Let's just use the full name. So it's just easier that way. I don't have to think about it. But
there's a little midnight snow goblin that's been sitting staring at us, and you said these are going to be like one of your new products because I need one. Can I just
thank you.
It's cute. So cute.
My little moonbeams. Yeah. So I am a huge fan of 80s nostalgia, like just anything. And I think I was a little too young for like when Rainbow Bright came out, but I was like, okay, how do I capture the essence of like what was, Strawberry Shortcake, Rainbow Bright, the glowworm toy, like those like cutesy 80s toys, right? From that era. So I think I may have captured that with this particular art
I would say so.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I think I was like toying around with nicknames. I think like Moonbeam would be a fun little name for these dolls.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, keep a lookout for
Super
those. I'll throw
cute.
some up on my Etsy shop soon.
And send me a picture so I can put it on the video too.
I will. And I have a TikTok video of my process.
Oh, yay.
For making an early iteration of them when I was still like needle felting them. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
That's a little.
Felting is a lot.
It's time consuming.
Yeah.
So I was like, they're going to be a little different this time, but they'll still look.
Yeah, I need one. That one might get kidnapped tonight, just so you know.
Okay. Oh my goodness. It's the only one left. They go quickly. Yeah. And I just love all things, again, sci-fi fantasy. I'm very inspired by like Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. So a lot of my art dolls
because we're surrounded by that style. Who's your little guy that you brought out at the party? That goblin dude?
Oh, Gobsley. He's one of my puppets. Yeah. And then I have Tristan here on display, who was part of my Dark Crystal fan film.
Yeah, and he looks like he's right out of the movie.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. That was our goal, and it was wild. We had about a month and a half to make that fan film, and we created a bunch of puppets for it, my friends and I. It was insane.
And I know that like the filmmaking industry is going in a certain direction, CGI. But I cannot appreciate enough when like a movie uses real puppets and like actual textures and real things, and so I appreciate like puppetry and just prop building more than ever before. And it's so important, and it's so underappreciated in a lot of ways. But the people in the know.
People in the know. I do want to give a quick shout out. I worked for Creature Kid for about 2 years in Colorado before I moved out here. And one of the big projects that we worked on was Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls. Andrew Bowser, who's also known as like Onyx the Fortuitous, he developed this YouTube persona. and did a Kickstarter, raised a bunch of money to then make a feature film with this character that he created.
Yeah.
And it's on Amazon Prime, and I believe it's on I forget the other, Tubi, what's the other streaming service? Yeah. And it's got,
which is free.
It's free. Wonderful practical effects. So I'm puppeteer in that. I've also I had a hand in creating some of those puppets.
I love it.
So yeah, definitely check it out. It was a lot of fun to work on that.
Do you know Wasteland has the puppets of the apocalypse?
I know. I was so glad to see
They're such a beautiful tribe.
It's so great.
They had a show at
the Rec Room, right?
The Rec Room.
Yeah.
I happened to stumble in on that one for a little bit.
Sweet.
That was great.
Were you just geeking out like, ooh, I want to play?
Yes. Yeah. I was like, why didn't I bring any of my puppets?
Yeah. I mean, a couple of these guys would definitely fit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I might have to bring Gobsley next year.
I love when you brought out Gobsley at both of the parties I've been to here, and I cannot explain how much my inner child was just like weeping with enjoyment because you play him in character, and I get to talk to Gobsley like you would talk to a Muppet, right?
Yes.
Because when you talk to a Muppet, the puppeteer doesn't exist.
Just disappears. Oh, absolutely.
And that's exactly what happens with you, because Gobsley moves so realistically in your hands.
Thank you. Yeah, he's kind of, people have called him like a little mini Shrek. He's my little goblin.
He is.
And he's adorable. I kind of give him this, it's horrible, my accent. Like I need to work on like my accents and my voice acting, but he's like a Joe Pesci-esque type of like little mobster character. And it's hilarious. It's a lot of fun to play with. So,
I love when you bring Gobsley out. It's so great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's precious. Oh my gosh. All right, so
we have some of our beloved puppet tribe people pretty close by. So.
Oh yeah.
Just saying.
Yes.
Hangout gotta happen.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, this has been wonderful to like show off my art and have it be appreciated.
Yeah, I wish that in this case, I wish we were doing video format because it would be great to just give people a tour of the room. But hopefully you'll give us some pictures that we can share.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll take some photos and we'll share my TikTok and everything in the links and descriptions.
And I think Gobsley needs his own TikTok. Just him.
He there are a few videos of him on my TikTok.
Oh, good.
They're older, but he might need his own.
I'm gonna track these down. Cool. Sweet. Well, I can't thank you enough for sitting down with us and talking about your experiences and sharing your art with us. It's just great. And like I said, I'm just geeking out because like puppets are very special to me. Obviously, our generations grew up with lots of like Sesame Street and Jim Henson and lots of puppet shows on like Nickelodeon and stuff.
Huge.
So,
Eureka's Castle.
Yeah. Oh, one of my favorites.
I've got a few of the toys on display here in my case. Yeah. I'm such a huge geek. I know.
So good. Every time I see them and just see them in action, especially, it's just amazing. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. And Shepard, thanks again for co-hosting. Always great to have you on the show. We need to do this more.
I love being here.
Yay. Yes. Good.
And I love you both.
All right, guys, we're going to go crack another bottle of wine, most likely, and talk about even more things. Thank you all for listening. Make sure that you subscribe wherever you're listening, whether it's on YouTube or your favorite podcast player, because we are pretty much everywhere. Share things. How do we mess this up? I do this every time, and I always mess it up. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your friends. And if you hated today's episode, please share it with your enemies and hold back on all the creature comforts, even as we sit in a comfortable room full of creatures. And yes, I wrote that a few minutes ago. All right, girls, thanks so much for hanging out.
Thank you.
And for all you guys out there, we'll see you next time. Until then, stay alive. Hey survivors, MakeShift here to remind you that the Apocalypse Post is brought to you in no small way by our Patreon supporters. Join the ranks for early access and exclusive content with support levels now named for fancy Fallout-ridden factions like the $2 per creation Drifter or the $7 Wastelander. Knowing you've got my back has helped me dedicate more time to this channel, spreading love of the post-apocalypse and less time on stupid real-world stuff. Sign up right now at patreon.com/theapocalypsepost.